Today, I'm going to break down the 7 worst things that you can do when it comes to upgrades and updates for your home. I'm Chris Overbay, the blue collar agent with United Real Estate. Let's get into this. Now, before we get started, huge disclaimer. Some of these things folks are going to love, and some of these things are going to be worth doing regardless of the fact that you will get a return on your money or not. So keep in mind, we buy some things just because we like those things, y'all, and that is okay.
Can you believe Deej bought us all these?
Damn, these things are fast. I'm okay.
What we don't want to do is put ourselves in a financial position with our home's equity where we're robbing the equity that we're going to get out of it when we go to sell simply by adding things that we like. That's something that we cannot deal with that financially.
Honey. Oh, Dick, I love you.
I love you.
For example, everybody loves a big giant TV or, something like that, right? Whatever, your Poison, a nice car that goes really fast or whatever. However, those things depreciate. So it's okay to buy them. You just got to realize that you're not getting your money back. So you could call it a tool, something you use, something you enjoy, but you can't really call it an investment or an asset that's really building something. Homes, on the other hand, while we live in them and we do use them, they can be. So they're kind of an anomaly when it comes to the stuff we generally use in the fact that they're typically rising in value. At least homes have never gone down in value in America within a 10-year period or greater. We can only find small dips, and even then, home prices typically recover unless everybody moves out of that town and it becomes a ghost town or something, right? So let's get into number 1. The number 1 thing that you can do to your home that you're probably going to love, but you will not get your money back on, is a swimming pool. Okay, so swimming pools, everybody loves them, except for me because I have literally no pigment or something, but most people do love their swimming pools, right? So swimming pools are fun. Everybody loves them. They can run anywhere from, $75,000 on the low end today, all the way up well into 6 figures, depending on what you're looking for in your swimming pool and what all you're looking to add to that, right? So of that $75,000, you're going to get at best maybe around $30,000, $40,000, just depending on your market, where you're at for your swimming pool. So you're going to pay well over double what you're going to get back. And depending on the offer in the market, what time of year it is, all that stuff, you may not even get that much. So often, $40K or something on a swimming pool, that's a pretty good scenario for a return on your investment. So you're going to lose money there. So if you live in the home a long time, if you really love it, go for it. Just keep in mind that you're paying for that. That swimming pool is not going to pay you more than likely, okay? So moving on to our next, number 2. Number 2 is going to be in the backyard as well, and that's going to be all your patio upgrades. Everything from fire pits to gazebos, all that stuff that we love when we walk out in the backyard we like to look at. That can be very good for curb appeal, and it can help buyers kind of make a decision. Maybe they want to pick your home over another. So it's not always in vain. Just keep in mind, whatever you spend on that stuff, you're not going to get your money back. If you go to Home Depot and build this really cool fire pit that you love, someone else may love it, but they're not going to pay you any more money for the house. So almost every dime you spend on stuff like that is in vain. Although overall landscaping is a good thing, but we'll get into that here in just a second. So you just want to be balanced on that stuff. So moving on to number 3 actually is landscaping. So landscaping deals with obviously the front yard, the backyard, everything. That's the grounds of the house. And I always recommend when I go on a listing appointment and I talk to home sellers that this is one of the things that they really put a big attention on, because folks make up their decision very quickly when they pull up to a house and when they see photos on Zillow, Realtor.com, and all those websites. They're really judging your house by how the grounds are kept and that initial first impression. So that primary photo that shows the house, the driveway, all that stuff, the front one, the main photo, that will often, a buyer can make up their decision pretty quick if they want to tour that home before they even go through those other photos. So having that right is very important. What you do not want to do is spend a ton on this landscape. And so even even professional landscaping is good, but they really recommend that you keep it well under 10% of the cost of the home. So in other words, if you have a $400,000 home, 40 grand would be the max you would want to spend on all your grounds, and that's probably pretty high, to be honest. This is internet data, but I would not comfortably recommend somebody spend $40,000 on landscaping for their house, as the comps in your neighborhood, you're just not going to get that back generally. Number 4 is a huge one, and it is super common here in the East Tennessee area, and that would be finishing a garage. This happens so often. A lot of my family have homes like these where they were maybe small rancher style homes or something, and they went ahead and they finished out the garage to get more square footage. So you see this a lot with some of the older homes that were maybe around 1,000 to 1,300 square feet. Back in the day, that was an acceptable square footage for a home. Most homes were around that size, so it was pretty common. So they would do about 1,200 square feet on a ranch style house, and then they would go ahead and put a one-car garage would be very common back in the day. Well, obviously, as Americans, prospered, and as we ended up with more cars on average and stuff.
There you go.
Is that your car?
Yes, it is.
Ain't that fancy? Can I drive it?
Now, the average family has, about 2 or 3 cars, right? Now, what folks will think is, okay, well, if I then finish out the garage and I get another, 200 square feet or something, then I can go ahead and add that amount. I can multiply that on. However, it's not quite like that. Number one, you're forgetting the fact that you are losing the garage, okay? 72% of buyers said that they want a garage space, that is important to them and influential in their decision. So you're removing that from the equation to add a little bit more square footage. You also would then have to subtract the value of the garage that you used to have from that equation, and realize that you're going to have less buyers, and often less buyers looking at your home, and that can often mean less offers coming in, which generally means the selling price ends up on average lower. More demand for something, higher it sells for on average. That's just the way the economy works with about anything. Another problem with finishing out a garage is the fact that you can always tell that it used to be a garage. Often it's the driveway and you pull up to it and you can tell that there was one time a garage door there. So it never really has that organic look of a house that's just built the way it was designed initially, with the garages put in place and it was in the original architectural plan. Now, again, this is all preference. So if you just absolutely never would use your garage, maybe you got storage sheds for the other stuff, right, and you just need extra space, by all means go ahead and do it. None of this is saying this is something that no one should at all do. What I am saying is you're just not going to get a return on your money for it, so you want to consider that when making this decision is all. The next one is carpet. So carpet is something that's kind of sad to me. It's kind of, or sad that it's so not desirable nowadays, I should say, because I grew up at a time when carpet was cool. It was nostalgic. Everybody had carpet back in the day, or is nostalgic today. But everybody had carpet back in my days growing up. And back then, it was just, it felt warm to the feet when you would walk through the home. It had this cozy feel. On the other side of that is the fact that it's nasty. It holds allergens, it holds dust mites, it holds all this stuff that's absolutely horrible. It's kind of like the nostalgia of smelling car exhaust. It's like, well, it brings back good memories, but also makes me a little bit lightheaded. You know what I mean? So just because something is nostalgic does not mean it's good for you, right? So carpet is something that is very not desirable in today's market. So with carpet, you get about 3% less for your home than if you had any other flooring off the bat. So carpet is going to devalue your home by 3%, where laminate and stuff like that, you're going to get a little bit more out of your home. Hardwood being what you typically get the most for, especially hardwood that is just refinished, resurfaced. It looks polished and clean and all that. Hardwood like that is going to be where you get the most for your money when it comes to flooring. By far the most desirable. And I'd probably say luxury vinyl, and then laminate would be a close second and third, and carpet is definitely way down at the very bottom. So if you can at all not have carpet in your house, you'll definitely do well doing that. And now to number 6. Number 6 would be adding on to your home. And this is one of the things that is done so embarrassingly in some areas of the world. And unfortunately it's like every county's a little bit different on their building codes and the permits and what all they require for folks to add on to a home. So if you get way out in the county where there's like 8 people and one of them is the mayor, the other is the school teacher, the other is the police officer / firefighter and all that, like a little town like that, their codes are just going to be very lax, to be honest. So in the rural parts of the world, you can really see some stuff that it's like, whoa, buddy. And when it comes to adding on to your home, and one of the biggest problems with it is most of the time it looks completely not organic. Anybody can look at that part of the house and be like, that was definitely added on. And folks just don't feel that it's structurally as put together as the rest of the home. You'll often see different siding. You'll see just wonky, crazy stuff and things that no one should have really done ever to a home. But folks will add on to a home that way. And then sometimes you see an add-on that does look good. It looks professional. You really need to probably get with an architect or somebody and get a game plan together. It may cost you a few $1,000s or something or whatever it does, but that's going to be so worth it to make sure that when you add on to this home, it looks like it was built with that intent.
Wait a second. This is wrong. What? These are wrong. What do you mean? These are wrong plans. Why? These are the old plans. Old. These are the old plans.
Some estimates for adding onto your home are as low as 50 to 60% of an ROI. So this means if you spent 60 grand adding onto your home, you might get 30 grand for that. So just keep that in mind and try to keep the budget as low as possible if you're doing that, because one day you're going to want to recoup as much money of that as possible. Next up is going to be luxury updates. So most luxury updates are not going to give you a good return on your investment. And to be honest, really, luxury stuff is cool, even luxury cars like BMWs, Mercedes, Porsche, all those fancy cars. But none of them are really considered good investments outside of some super rare something that, somebody will argue in the comments like, oh, well, not this, Shelby Cobra 427, whatever. Okay, well, look, there are a small amount of cars that have gone up in value. But overall, the rule of thumb is if it has a VIN number, tires, and a motor or whatever, it is going down in value, right? Okay. So that is especially true in all segments. I don't care what you're talking about almost, from housing to cars to every other type of, part of life. The luxury stuff typically is where you get the worst ROI. For example, luxury cars depreciate the worst. A Maserati will go down in value, like just Google it and you'll see. It's pretty bad. But, so luxury stuff in general, you're just going to lose money on. It's folks who really love a fine taste and they're willing to pay that premium and they want it new and they want it cool. The problem is the person 20 years ago who bought all the fanciest kitchen stuff that they could find and they made their house look so amazing with all the gold fixtures and all that. The problem is today is nobody actually cares about gold. Nobody cares about green carpet. Nobody cares about what was the fanciest wallpaper 30 years ago. So I always say, do luxury updates only to the level you're comfortable with losing money on, and only to the level to match up your neighborhood. So, I've saw $100,000, $200,000 kitchens in multi-million-dollar homes. But if you live in a house like mine, you don't want to spend half the home's value on the kitchen. Just mathematically, nobody else in the neighborhood has a kitchen like that. You're not going to get your money back. You just need to get a normal kitchen that's clean and updated and open and kind of goes along with what you see in other homes. So you don't have to be cookie cutter and copy and paste everything. But to be honest, the more that something is replicated, the more desirable it is. And that's why they're making so many of it that way, right? So you're going to get your best return on your money by doing that. My goal with this video is just to make sure that you understand what you can do to avoid spending too much money on upgrading your home and updating your home to where when you go to sell it, you're happy with the result. You don't feel that you've sunk a bunch of money into this home and that now it was a problem to sell. I'd rather it be a blessing for you to sell, no matter which state you're in, no matter if I'm helping you list your home or if you're listing your home with a high quality agent in your market. I'm Chris Overbay, the Blue Collar Agent. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Hope to see y'all next week.